you very much. This is a very sad day for America. And it was also very sad driving through Washington, D.C. and seeing the filth and the decay and all of the broken buildings and walls and the graffiti. This is not the place that I left. It's a very sad thing to see it. When you look at what's happening, this is a persecution of a political opponent. This was never supposed to happen in America. This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot. So if you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him. We can't let this happen in America. Thank you very much.
And as our election contest continues, I'll make you a promise. We're going to keep fighting until every legal vote is counted. We're going to keep fighting until every illegal vote is thrown out. We're going to win Georgia. We're going to save America, and we'll never stop fighting to make America great again. You watch.
Yeah, Mike, we did watch, and you did not deliver. Hello, everybody. It's Everett with Ohio for Freedom. It's the 3rd of August, a little after 9 o'clock Eastern. I just had to come on here and share some celebration with you. I played very quietly in that opening clip. Dare I say it, Cool and the Gang. I can't play it very long because some of these platforms want to say copyright this. So, folks, Mr. Zuckerberg, that was fair usage, and I'm commenting right now about how cool and the Gang were. I watched that when I grabbed that clip just now. Wholesome, upbeat, exciting, energetic. So there you have it. Folks, I'm not going to be on here long, but there's a lot of ground to cover. So let's get...
I hear the sweet sound of freedom, and I won't be long.
Please like, please share, please subscribe, hit this button and that button and the other button and the notification bell and all of that. Folks, listen, I just had to come on here. I'm repeating myself, plus saying the same thing twice and being redundant. I am so excited, so very, very excited about this indictment of Donald J. Trump. Why? Because, folks, it falls flat on its face. It shows how desperate these losers are. They're in the process of losing it. They're in the process of being defeated. And I think that this very short clip perhaps says it best. I'm going to play it right now.
Enthroned in heaven, laughs. The Lord taunts them. Then he rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his fury.
I agree with that. Folks, I'm going to go, here's what I'm going to do. I went through the lawsuit, except just kind of quickly, but there's some things that jump out at that. We're going to look like just a couple of slides of that, but I want you to share this because if anybody out there is disheartened, if anybody is discouraged, if anybody is saying, oh, they just keep, please stop that right now. This is like, I was trying to think of what this is like. Now, my wife actually, there's a picture of her when she was sitting for several hours, her and her dad in a dinner. I think it was in Las Vegas, but she really attended to Muhammad Ali. He was just beginning to get Parkinson's, and she'd grab his dinner, grab his plate, and she was just kind of his buddy for the night. He gave her some signed boxing gloves, all right? And so she's a big boxing fan. So if I can use a boxing analogy, this is like George Foreman stepping into the ring with a 98-pound weakling. This is like Muhammad Ali in his prime coming up against an old gray-haired white guy. And what would be the appropriate response of the audience? Laugh, because the gray-haired white guy, the old guy, is about to get his clock cleaned. And that's what's happening. I want to say something about Mike Pence. I held out for the longest time. Now, it's been a long time since I held out. I held out for the longest time, trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he's such a disappointment. In fact, I'm kind of going out of order. But I want to show you Mike Pence's his latest tweet. If I can do that, I got to go to the end here. On the 1st of August, so this is just a couple of days ago, the Honorable Mike Pence says today's indictment serves as an important reminder. Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. And the words of that statement are just so powerful. And Mike, that's probably why you have about 2% in the polls. That's probably why you're sending out emails trying to raise $1 from one person, just so that maybe possibly, if everything lines up just perfectly, you could actually make it onto the debate stage. We played the clip where you were vowing to fight for the last legal ballot to be counted and for every single illegal ballot to be not. Yeah, you folded like a house of cards. In fact, I want to remind people of something they may not have seen before. And no, people have never been able to really explain this, but this is the day after Mike caved. All he had to do was say, this looks kind of fishy. Send it back to the states. You guys stew on it. That's all that anybody was ever asking him to do. But please explain this. This is Mike Pence receiving that gold coin. What is that all about? Let's take a look. Play now. I'll blow it up a little bigger. Now look at that. He's got his mask on. And then look, you'll see it clearly. There's a coin in his hand. What kind of secret handshake? What was that all about? Nobody's been able to explain that to me satisfactorily, what that means. It just looks fishy. But here's what I want to do. I've just got about 4 clips that I want to go through. So just before the indictment today, one of President Trump's attorneys came out and spoke to reporters. Now, her name is Alina Habba, I believe, or Hama. I'm pronouncing that right, but you'll see it on the screen. She gives an opening statement, and then I'm going to play and just talk about 3 really dumb questions that were hurled her way. And I think if you just go through this, you're going to have a sense of it. Folks, listen, we have to be joyful. We have to be upbeat. And President Trump's going to get the nomination. President Trump is going to be sworn in again. And some heads are going to roll. But let me get into I want to play this.
The fact that I am standing here for the 3rd time in 5 months is not a coincidence. This is the Biden political lawfare that we have seen time and time again. It is a deflection from everything that they have done. And if you don't believe me, look at the facts. On March 17th, Hunter accidentally admits that it was his laptop from hell. The next day,
she really looks
DA
nervous
Alvin
and worried,
Bragg
doesn't she?
indicts
No.
President Trump. June 8th, an FBI document is released showing that the Ukrainians paid the Biden crime family millions and millions of dollars. The next day, the Mar-a-Lago raid and the Mar-a-Lago indictment. Last week, Hunter Biden's sweetheart plea deal fell through when the judge realized it had blanket immunity. The following day, a superseding indictment against Donald Trump. July 31st,
Yep.
Devin Archer goes to testify in front of the House. That was only after they failed to put him in jail prior to the fact. What happens the next day? The January 6th indictment that we're here for today. This is not a coincidence. This is election interference at its finest against the leading candidate right now for president, for either party.
Yep.
President Trump is under siege in a way that we have never seen before. President Trump and his legal team and everyone on his team will continue to fight, not for him, but for the American people. I'll take some questions.
That was just so well done. I was tempted to earlier before, because this happened about like 4:30, 5 o'clock or so. I was going to bring out an article that featured Larry Kudlow when he was on, what channel is he on? But he went exactly down the same track. It's the timeline. The Bidens get caught at this. 2 days later, Trump gets indicted for that. Hunter Biden is in trouble for being a felon or a drug dealer or a pedophile, and it comes to light in a new way. 2 days later, there's an indictment. And then the latest one Devin Archer appears, Hunter Biden's former business partner, who spilled the beans with Tucker Carlson. Don't have time to go there, but that comes out, and then you have it's followed by an indictment. What are they going to indict him on next? For not liking Joe Biden? Is that what they're going to indict him for? It's just crazy. But there were a couple of really dumb questions, and I'm going to play the first one, and here we go.
Free speech, but the special counsel says Trump could have disagreed with the results and talked about it. No crime there. The difference is what he did to try and switch the votes.
So what is it that he did to try and switch the votes that you refer to? By bringing cases, by using the law in an appropriate manner, unlike what we're sitting here today seeing? This is not appropriate. What President Trump did is he said, go patriotically and peacefully and protest. That is an American right. That is why we are America and we are not a third world country. Although I will say that today, I don't feel very much like we are in America.
And see, just ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, does she seem up? Does she seem worried? Does she seem scared? Trump's attorney. So the question was, and we might look at just a little bit of that indictment, but I'll just say this about that indictment. I did read it. Read it kind of hurriedly. I might go back over it and spend some time. But folks, it reads like a press release. It does to my untrained. It doesn't even read as much like a lawsuit as it does a press release, a whining press release. Part of the tack or the argument of the press release lawsuit is that President Trump had people that told him that he lost, and he didn't believe them. I mean, it is so ridiculous. I'm reading this and thinking, Jack Smith is going to go back and posthumously indict Galileo because Galileo believed the world was round, but he had people that were really, really smart that told him it was flat, and he didn't believe them. So I really think that Jack Smith is going to go back and posthumously indict Galileo. But the lady, the reporter was asking the attorney that in the lawsuit it says that he questioned that and that there's no problem with that. Well, thank you, Jack Smith. Thank you for the affirmation that people can talk about things and think about things that they want to, but it's what he did. And then the attorney comes back with, well, what did he do? Filed some lawsuits, took some legal action. I mean, she just unflappable. I don't want to prolong this. I'm going to get to this second question. Here we go.
Is he going to argue that the election was stolen?
I don't think that that's the argument that needs to be made. I think that anybody that believes that is misreading this. The truth is, as an American, there were questions that he had regarding the election integrity. We've seen documents come out, we've seen documentaries come out showing that there were issues with the election. And frankly, by bringing this, I don't think Jack Smith really thought it through. There only has to be proof that, number one, President Trump believed that this election was not completely honest. And number two, Jack Smith has opened himself up to a can of worms that we can now look at and really examine.
And that is the big thing, folks. As she said, Jack Smith's opened up a can of worms, folks. And this next question is really going to point it out. I just want to respond to one comment from Susan. Impeachment inquiry, Georgia lawsuit. I'm just going to say this. I still have on my other computer the entire download of the roughly 40-minute telephone conversation that President Trump and several of his attorneys and Mark Meadows had with Secretary Rattensberger from Georgia. And in the very beginning opening statement, President Trump's attorney says, this is a conversation about offer and compromise. And then they lied about it, they spun it. But in other words, there were all these different areas of irregularities that were alleged and talked about. And the difference in the election was like 11,000 votes, 15,000. And President Trump, in a conversation that's about offer and compromise, he was saying to Ratzberger, all right, that, I won't even hold you on the hook for, I still believe that Ratzberger is going to is going to face the heat on that. I really, really do. But what he was saying is, you know what? You don't have to cough all of this up. Just try to, he said, and he did use the words, I just need to find. Yeah, out of all these 150,000 or more votes in question, we just, you, in other words, Ratzberger, you just choose which one you want to be honest about. And then Ratzberger turned around immediately and lied and spun that conversation. And they allude to that. But I want to get to this third question here, because I think this is what, if you're paying attention, this is what ought to get you really, really excited.
And that this is all a setup. Why not bring it to trial as soon as possible before the election so that you can clear his name?
Yeah, I would love to do that, but there's something called discovery. And when
too.
somebody wants to say that the 2020 election was perfect and that President Trump has no right to object.
I apologize, folks, but I can do this. I'm going to replay it. I want you to hear her
He's
question.
innocent and that this is all a setup. Why not bring it to trial as soon as possible before the election so that you can clear his name?
Yeah, I would love to do that, but there's something called discovery. And when somebody wants to say that the 2020 election was perfect and that President Trump has no right to object to it, we've got to go show him all the facts. And there's a lot of facts to show. So everybody has their time. And to say that Donald Trump should then be rushed and not be given the same fair proceeding that anybody else is just, frankly, un-American. It's not fair. It's not the way our system works.
Did I play this already? Let's
Enthroned
play it
in
again.
heaven laughs. The Lord taunts them. Then he rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his fury.
Okay, so what that last question about the reporter read, and folks, these people are thespians. They're not lesbians, they're thespians. They're actors. They're news actors. But she said, well, if he's so innocent, why doesn't he just want to hurry up and get to trial so he can clear his good name? And the attorney answers and said, you know what? He's got the right to take his time and go through a proper defense just like everybody else. But here's the thing, folks. Jack Smith has opened up a can of worms because I'm going to cut this short here. I was going to go through some slides. I might talk about it a bit, but I don't want to be on here all night because I want you to share this. But here's just the whole point of this show. Be very, 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 very excited about this. This is really good stuff because as the reporter just asked and as the attorney just answered, they've opened up a can of worms. They've taught, if you go through that press release lawsuit, it touches on everything that has to do with election irregularity. And so boom, bam, boom, there you go. There's discovery. And so folks, where they would like for this all to be for, and how much of the GOP establishment is, we have to focus on going forward. We can't relitigate the past. So all that damage that was done, just forget about it. No, this brings these issues right to the forefront again. And I don't know how it's going to happen, but as they go through discovery, guess what? You can report it to the press. This is going to be front and center all the way up to, what is it, November 5th, 2024. So I am just so very, very excited. I may do this. I've got a couple of slides that I want to go through because I'm going to be hard. Like, for example, one of the arguments that Jack Smith makes is that the president had people around him that were telling him that he lost and he didn't believe them. And one of the people that he says told him that he lost was right. I highlighted it, the director of national intelligence. Jack, are you kidding me? Prior to this Dylan Mulvaney video I did, the highest rated video I ever got, 280,000 views, was going through President Trump's executive order, where it clearly states that by, I think it was the 25th of December or somewhere, but in 45 days after the election, all the intelligence branches had to submit to the Director of National Intelligence their summary about the election. And folks, do you remember that at least two of them refused to do it? And the way they refused to do it was saying, we just don't have enough time. And then Jack Smith turns around and says, the Director of National Intelligence, well, he was telling you that you lost, but you didn't believe him. Let me keep going. There's another that's really, and then he says his own Department of Homeland Security, Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, whose existence the defendant signed into law. Okay, let's just tear that one apart, because what was it back in 2022? I don't have time to grab it. They did a limited hangout. CISA did, where, well, yeah, there were some problems, and there's some problems with these machines, and there's all these vulnerabilities, but it couldn't have had any effect on any other previous elections. Give me a break. It was a joke. I'm trying to move fast here. What was this other one? One of the senior White House attorneys informed the defendant, that would be Donald Trump, that there was no evidence of outcome determinative election fraud. Oh, wow. You mean the president had somebody on his staff that didn't agree with him? Oh my gosh. And the president didn't immediately adopt his view. So that's why I say he needs to go back and posthumously indict Galileo. And this is so funny. This one is hilarious. And it said that this is one of the, what are unnamed co-conspirators? What is that all about? Can I tell you what it's all about? Extreme weakness. You ain't got nothing. But one of the president's co-conspirators played a misleading excerpt of a video recording of ballot counting at State Farm Arena in Atlanta and insinuated that it showed election workers counting suitcases of illegal ballots. We all remember that, the midnight. Well, let me ask you this, Jack. What were they in? Were those hat boxes? Duffel bags? They sure look like suitcases to me, but folks, I'm just trying to give you if you get a chance, read it. It's absolutely hilarious. I think I got one more here. Still talking about the illegal ballots in suitcases. Then he cited 2 election workers by name. Folks, I just got to tell you, I was just waiting. I just had a sense somewhere in this lawsuit, they had to use the word baseless. Remember, until 2020, the word baseless existed. But until 2020, you never heard baseless claims. The baseless claims of base. And here he is with, he cited 2 election workers by name, baselessly accused them of, quote, quite obviously surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they are vials of heroin or cocaine. Folks, I just got to tell you, I love what Linda just said. It's all bull. Yep. And I'm not sure what Glenda says. I'm not going to repeat that word. So anyway, folks, listen. Celebrate. They're scared. They're peeing their pants. They're sweating. They're nervous. The rats on the ship know they've been found out. And you watch, more and more, they're going to turn on each other. They're going to devour each other. So please be encouraged. Everything they would want to be forgotten, it ain't forgotten. Everything they'd want to sweep under the rug. And just think about this. You heard the attorney say every time they get more dirt on the Biden crime family, there's another indictment. There may be more indictments, but guess what else there is going to definitely be? There's going to be more Biden crime family evidence, more Biden crime family dirt. Don't sit back and wait for somebody else to deal with it. Don't sit back and wait for somebody else to make it happen. Call your congressman, call your senator, call your grandma, just make some noise about it. But folks, we are in for it might be a little bit wild, but a very exciting ride. I've said everything I wanted to see. I do want to comment, if you give me a minute. And they chased, this is I like that name. Cheyenne the Wolf says they chased out the ones who were there watching the counting of the votes so they wouldn't be seen pulling out and counting and recounting the suitcases of ballots. And Cheyenne, I hope I'm saying that right, Cheyenne. And see, what I love about this, and I'll close with this, is that, like, Cheyenne, I had to, about a year and a half ago, had to switch stuff over from one system to another, but I never erased anything. I've got all that stuff. And you don't have to have that stuff on a hard drive somewhere. But what I'm saying is, it's so easy to forget. We went through so much, and you just kind of want to get on with your life, but we can't afford to do that. But this just brings it all back. You can still picture the midnight at the State Farm Arena in the four different screenshots, and then pulling it out, and the lady with the yellow braids, and but see, it's not going to go away. And Jack Smith really, really stepped in it. Okay, I always go longer than I wanted to. Please please share this, and call somebody else and tell them to get excited. Folks, it is time to be excited. And with that, just remember, let's play this clip as the parting clip. Let's play this as the parting clip. And just remember, this is my spiritual take on the whole situation.
Enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord taunts them. Then he rebukes them in his anger and terrifies them in his fury.
I agree with that. Good night, everybody.